Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's often said that the journey is what matters and not the destination. Sample this. You have planned an exciting vacation for your family to a destination you have long waited to visit. You have paid a hefty airfare to avail the best airline service. Or you are a frequent flyer who has important work meetings to attend in another city, and so you expect a restful flight. But what if your travel is marred with an unpleasant in-flight experience, with wobbly chairs, sunken seat, broken handrest, and by overall poor maintenance of the flight? Embarrassingly, all these complaints are often only directed towards the Air India Airlines. But we are not the ones who are saying it. It's the cabinet minister saying it. It was only last week when Shivraj Singh Chauhan slammed the airline for the seat that was allotted to him with a broken handrest when he flew from Bhopal to Delhi. And today, in a scathing post, BJP's national spokesperson Jayaveer Shergill said if there was an Oscar equivalent for the worst airline, Air India would win hands down in every category, from broken seats to worse staff, pathetic on-ground support as well. The question that we are asking is, what ails the Air India Airlines? Once the national carrier, Air India has been facing flack for providing the worst service in the aviation industry, despite the takeover by the Tata Group, which packed a promise to better the in-flight experience at par with the Vistara, which was the preferred airlines for many flyers. The grievances of passengers are often brushed under the carpet, or it's met with a bot reply from the airlines, which leaves a very little scope to expect improved service quality. But like Agriculture Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan questioned, why should the passengers be left in the lurch feeling cheated against the ticket they bought paying the hefty airfare? And what measures can be taken by the Air India management to ensure that the passengers are not faced with regular inconveniences for basic amenities promised by the airlines? My colleague Nikhil is joining me right now to get us more details. Nikhil, what we are speaking about right now is these incidents that has been reported by Shivraj Singh Chauhan and Jayaveer Shergill about having an unpleasant experience flying the Air India Airlines. But these are not isolated incidents. There are several such passengers who have time and again complained about this, but it falls on the deaf ears of the authority of the airlines. They are waking up to these issues now because they are the union minister and national spokesperson. But is there a word from the management's end? How are they trying to plug these issues?
Samia, as per the details, there is no official statement as yet which has been issued from the side of the airline, that is Air India in this particular case. Although what we do know through the sources is that some of the officials from the airline, they are currently in touch with Jayaveer Shergill over the issue or the feedback, so to say, which has been shared about his journey on the social media platform. But it is not just about the Air India as an airline career. It applies by and large to each and every airline. Just a few days back, after the public bashing of Air India by Agriculture Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan, just next day or day after tomorrow, there was this another incident which was reported into the public domain by Sunil Jhakhad, who is the state president for the Bharatiya Janata Party for the state of Punjab. But that was something in regard to the Indigo airline. Although the feedback is usually taken by the airline, but in the senior most cases or in the relevant cases, so to say, which are usually raised by these segment of the people, the inquiry is usually sought from the side of the ministry. And this is something which we know through the sources within the Civil Aviation Ministry as well. In context to the Shivraj Singh Chauhan's incident, there was this inquiry which was ordered from the side of the DGC, and the ministry officials also reached out to the top management of the Air India, asking to take the matter on the top priority. But also, as you have rightly mentioned, that this is something which is not very new. This has become a norm in the recent past. Many of the users as well, they have taken out their frustration over the social media accounts, but there has been no action so far, either from the side of the airline or ministry for that matter. It is the cases when big minister or the relevant people raise in the public issue, then only we expect some sort of action. And this is something which is being talked to us about by the users as well, by the passengers as well in this particular regard. They are expecting, with the raising of this particular issue by the relevant minister, they are expecting some sort of change, at least in the nature of services, given the high prices which are already charged from the side of the different airlines. Back to you.
Absolutely, Nikhil. Thank you for getting us all those details and putting things into perspective for our viewers here. We shall leave it at that for the moment. And to discuss this further, I'm joined by an esteemed panel of guests this evening. I'm joined by Mr. Bijon Mishra, who's a consumer rights activist, Pradeep Mahar, BJP leader, Captain Sanjay Karve, who's an aviation expert. Good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for taking our time and joining us over here at Mirror Now. I will first go across to Mr. Bijon Mishra over here. Mr. Mishra, issues of flyers, issues of consumers is something that I'm going to ask you about. This is not the first time around that we are seeing such complaints coming forward by aggrieved flyers. What's interesting this time around is that it's coming from those in power, those holding high offices like the union minister, like senior BJP national spokesperson Jaivir Shergill. What does it talk about the condition of the airlines if the ministers have to take to social media and put forth their ordeal asking for services to be improved?
So, Samaya, it's a good sign. You know, we expect elected representatives to be taking up such causes. We want that this should become a frequent kind of an activity by the elected representatives to share with the citizens in terms of poor service, poor quality, poor governance issues. And I am very happy to see that Union Minister has raised this issue in public domain. And even the party presidents of the political parties have raised this issue, which is a very good sign. It should happen much more frequently than what has happened only in the aviation sector. It should happen in any kind of a sector, whether it is telecom, whether it is to do with packaged food, whether it is to do with lack of information in terms of any kind of a white good sold to you, or the big brands who are getting away, selling all kinds of tall promises through misleading advertisements. All these issues should be raised by these elected representatives in a regular manner. So I am very happy that they have now started raising such issues and making it public on their own. They are not waiting to be as part of the parliamentary committee attached to those ministries to talk about it. Because as you know, every ministry has got elected representatives as parliamentary committees attached to the ministries dealing with these kind of activities. So aviation ministry also has a parliamentary committee looking into all these matters. So what goes to show is the regulator is found to be sleepy. The regulator is not strong enough to bring in policies and changes in the laws where the airline feels scared to make passengers fly with broken chairs, make passengers fly in terms of delayed, flight without any information, passengers getting offloaded without any valid reason, passengers getting downgraded without any valid reasons. They don't even get their refunds on time. They pay the money in full before purchasing the ticket. And when they pay the money in full, they deserve all that quality which is to be delivered to them as promised before you have collected the money. And in case they fail to give, then the full money should be refunded without any kind of a litigation or making passengers go before any kind of a commission or making any kind of a complaint. They should be automatically given the refund. You see, that is what is not happening in my country. They are not scared. The providers are not at all scared because they know that an ordinary consumer doesn't have the capacity to go before the judiciary to file a compensation claim under the Consumer Protection Act or under any kind of an existing law, because the legal system in India is very expensive, cumbersome, long drawn, pathetic. So what needs to be done is the lawmakers the elected representatives like Mr. Chauhan who has done it, what we want is many more MPs who get elected should start raising these issues when they find it on the ground, that it is not happening in the interest of the citizen or the consumers. So I'm extremely happy with what the discussion is going, and the media is also now in a regular manner, taking it up. And I definitely feel very happy because Mirror now has always been taking up these causes, and I feel that there should be more kind of time given, to wake up the regulators, wake up the providers, and they just don't take the money without being made accountable in terms of delivery of qualities of service. They have to be made accountable. They have to be made very transparent, which is very, very important.
Mr. Bijon Mishra, today the Jammu and Kashmir High Court, I am trying to deviate a little bit from the main subject, has decided that those commuters who have to travel on the NH44 will only have to pay 20% of the toll fee because they have not been able to provide a proper, well-maintained highway. Because what the High Court has observed is that the toll fee is essentially a compensation for a well-maintained road. It is not an entitlement of sorts. And if you fail to provide well-maintained infrastructure, then you should not be collecting the entire toll. It can be collected once the construction work is over. Now, circling back to our discussion today, if the services are not up to the mark as far as the flights are concerned, if the flight seats are broken, they're sunken seats, they're broken handrails, they're broken handrests, if the meals are being denied to senior citizens and those with diabetic or other health concerns, then why should the airlines be allowed to charge an exorbitant airfare? Why should the consumer be taken advantage of because they have no other alternative?
No, it's a great move which the judiciary has also done in terms of J&K, which the example which you gave. So all courts under our constitution and in the judicial system are allowed to take suo motu cases. They can take up any such case when they read in the newspapers or anywhere or in the news channel to take up a suo motu case and give an order for giving compensation to all such passengers who go through these kind of plight. So what my contention is, don't allow citizens to go before the judiciary. The government, the regulator should go before the judiciary against those defaulters of service or those product manufacturers who give defective products, to ensure that the consumers are well compensated well within the time, not to make them run from pillar to post and take 10 years, 5 years to decide on an order and get that money back. You see, I have paid the money out of my hard-earned money to be able to access, that quality of service which I deserve to take, and I have taken it under a choice. And when I have done that and paid the money in full, not in part, they have collected the money in full from me. Then when they kind of have any kind of a deficiency in service, or they defer or they fail to deliver what has been promised, like a proper seat, which is functional, which is safe, which is in my interest, to give me that comfort. If they fail, then they should automatically be told that the money should be returned from the same account where the money has been received, without asking any questions, without even asking any questions. You see, if I have flown on a broken seat and I have
a question across to Captain Karve, Ms. Bijon Mishra, and I will come back to you. Captain Karve, we have been hearing about scores of people, aggrieved passengers, aggrieved flyers putting forth their testimonies on social media, waiting for a reaction, and all that most of them end up getting is a bot reply. Only situation where there are union ministers and people of some repute involved in it, only then does the ministry personally takes the matter forward, expects the DGCA also to step in to look into the entire matter. But Captain Karve, why does the airline fails to provide the basic amenity that is promised when they are selling a ticket? If they are selling a ticket, the basic that is required is maybe a comfortable seat to go in. or a
Okay.
well-maintained in-flight experience? Why? I mean, it just fails me to ask you this question, Mr. Karve. Where is the gap?
Okay, Samya, the question that you have asked has got a couple of things which need to be understood. Air India has started a modernization
Sure.
drive about 3 years ago. COVID has actually hit the modernization drive because the supply chain of most of the agencies have broken down. The orders which were placed for the seats about 4 years ago have still not materialized. So Air India has been going on an ad hoc basis, and there were seats bought for 4 aircraft from an Italian firm, which was Victor Tango, Romeo Tango Bravo, which is the concerned aircraft, which is just a 2 years old aircraft. So it was a brand new aircraft with brand new seats. Air India has discontinued taking seats from that company long back. The second issue is when you have a supply chain breakdown due to a calamity like COVID, you really cannot blame any organization. And unfortunately, we as Indians love to bash Air India. 10 days ago, Indigo flight was stuck at Istanbul for 12 hours with passengers getting stuck. It doesn't become an issue on national TV because it's Indigo. Day before yesterday, American Airlines JFK to New Delhi flight got diverted to Rome. The Indian passengers were accommodated at the airport.
So
No one
I
makes an
have
issue
to
out of it.
interject over
Why?
there,
Because
Captain
it's an
Karve. I can
American
assure
airline.
you that here at Mirror Now itself, we take up the issue of consumers, we take up the issue of flyers, we take up the issue against any particular airlines where the consumer are faced with inconvenience against a fare that they have paid up for, irrespective of the airline that they're complaining against. So there is no biases against it. All that we are taking up the story from is from the perspective that the Union Minister, the BJP national spokesperson have put forth these experiences, and then of course the Aviation Minister has stepped in, has woken up to it, and has also assured that the DGCA will step into it, which is not really the treatment meted out to several other aggrieved flyers. Mr. Karve, please go ahead and make your point.
Yeah, Samya, I totally agree with you as to what you have said. The issue here is not about DGCA or the airline. It is about the supply chain disruptions. You know, a supply chain disruption, no one has really got control over it. Yes, what can be done is when the MEL is raised, when the crew reports a seat being broken, that can go into the computer system or the reservation system or the ticketing system of the airline. And that system need not be sold. That system can show it that this seat is not available. A lot of airlines like Emirates and Etihad do it. If a seat is broken, you know, you might land up in the aircraft
Okay.
and find a lot of seats vacant. And when you ask the crew, they said this crew seat is unserviceable, so we don't sell it. Air India definitely can use an approach like that. Once a crew reports that a seat is broken or unserviceable, it can definitely put it into the system and show that the seat is sold or not available, thereby avoiding these situations. But the second issue is when we are talking of the crew behavior, I tend to disagree with the gentlemen, all respected gentlemen. They have traveled quite a lot. I think the Air India crew behavior is one of the best in the world, excluding maybe Singapore Airlines, Emirates, and Etihad. It will be interesting to see people or the air crew on American Airlines behaving with passengers. They are just short of being downright rude. Air India crew doesn't behave like that. On the issue of
Okay.
seat, when an aircraft is handed over to a crew, the crew has got no control. The crew cannot say that I cannot accept this aircraft because 6 seats are broken or 8 seats are broken. The crew does their
But
job
Captain
of putting
Karve,
it into the log.
where does the buck stop? It got to stop at some point. You were talking about
Yes,
the
the buck
supply
stops,
issue. You are
like I
maintaining that
said.
the crew cannot be held
No, like I
responsible.
said, there is a
But the
solution.
buck needs to stop somewhere because the consumer, the flyer who is paying for the ticket, at that point in time, the airline doesn't really detail about things like these. That even
No,
if
no,
you're
I
paying
agree,
for an
Samya.
XYZ
I
amount
just
for a
hear me
given
out.
ticket, this is the kind of shortcomings that we have.
Samya, just hear me out. I totally agree with you. The buck has to
Yes, Mr.
stop
Karve,
with the
please go
operations
ahead.
department of Air India. Once the crew has reported a particular unserviceability of a seat or any facility, maybe IFE, the airline needs to put it into the system that this seat should not be sold. It is as simple as that. And it is very easily, it is not at all difficult. You just have to add into the
Okay.
system that seat 8C, 12A, 14B, and 1D not available. This will solve all the problems till the time we get the seats. So it is a problem which is easily solvable. and it can be easily handled by the Air India team,
Okay, Mr.
provided
Karve,
they're willing
point
to
taken.
forgo those 4 or 6 seats.
The suggestion that you are making is something that can be incorporated to make matters easier for the flyers. Mr. Bijon Mishra has a point to make. He was raising his hand for it. Mr. Mishra, please go ahead.
I just want to bring a clarity on what Captain Sanjay mentioned. I never mentioned anywhere against the attitude of the crew. Please don't put words in my mouth. I mentioned about the deficiency in service. I did not mention about the crew, nor their treatment, nor their behavior. I never complained about their behavior. They're one of the best. I agree with you.
No,
So,
Mr. Bijon, it was nothing against you. It was the generic topic that the crew of Air India
but
is
you
not
mentioned
behaving
that
correctly.
let's not get into a debate. I'm just saying.
No, Mr. Karve, I think you're mistaken over there. There is some miscommunication over there. We are not trying to hold the crew responsible for anything. We are holding the airline, asking them for accountability when it comes to the service that has been provided. There is nothing against the crew.
Absolutely, and there's a very easy solution.
But there is a question across to Mr. Pradeep Mahar. Mr. Pradeep Mahar, you've heard what Mr. Bijon Mishra had to say. You also heard what Captain Karve have to say. Is it embarrassing for the government where you have your own national spokesperson, you have your own sitting cabinet minister, 3-time chief minister from Madhya Pradesh, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, have to resort to a social media platform to put forth their ordeal? This is not the first time around, and this may not be the last, is the worry.
No, it's not embarrassing at all. We need to understand that if something is wrong, that need to be notified. If public, the elected representatives of people are traveling and they are notifying it, that should be rather welcome. If something is wrong, not only with airlines, any kind of a consumer good, that should be notified. As far as the government is concerned, government has proper channels.
But Mr. Pradeep Mahar, I will give you a chance to speak on this. But there are scores of people. If you only go through the social media alone, you will see several such testimonies put forth by absolute nameless, faceless flyers. But their grievances are never addressed by the airlines. It required a union minister. It required a BJP national spokesperson to bring matters into public domain and to the attention of your government.
Look, as far as the social media concerned, that is on the airlines, whether they are going to reply it or not. But as far as the government is concerned, government has got their own portals like Air Service Grievance Redressal. If you have some kind of a grievance, you have to post it there. And even if it is not going to be solved, there is some issue there, then you can definitely file a complaint with Consumer Helpline. Now, I am not talking about the Consumer Code. That is the last resort. So if you file a complaint with Consumer Helpline, the people are there, they are going to help you out and you can get your money refunded. So as far as this particular case is concerned, if there was some issue, that issue has been highlighted, even people should highlight it. You want to highlight it on social media, that's your own wish. We cannot compel any private company that you have to reply on social media.
Okay.
That's their own preview. They have got a team or not, how they are handling it. That's their own brand. They are ultimately
okay, I have paucity of time over there. I will have to interject you, Mr. Mahar. Well, at the end of the day, it is the aggrieved consumer, it is the aggrieved passenger. They are the one putting forth their testimonies, and you expect them go through the consumer code way. And they are already troubled enough. We hope that the testimonies of Shivraj Singh Chauhan, Javier Shergill and many others like him is going to ensure that the government wakes up to these concerns, and the airline will ensure that the flyers will not have to be inconvenienced in this manner again. Thank you so much, Mr. Bijon Mishra, Mr. Pradeep Mahar and Captain Karve for taking our time and joining us over here at Mirror Now. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the broadcast. Lots more lined up. Stay tuned and keep watching Mirror Now for more news and updates.